Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Bill Murphy here from the Sports Insanity Network, and welcome to a live edition of Murphy's View. As today, I'm doing this live because instead of talking about the Bengals, because we're just going to be completely honest here with you folks. The Bengals Browns game is completely meaningless. Bengals are out. They lost last week. They're out of the playoffs. Browns are in after beating the Jets. While I was working on my blog for that, I want to give a shout out to my brother Dan. He said, "Why don't you talk about a game that actually means something?" I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. So, you know what? Tonight, we're talking about tonight's game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. A rematch of week 2 when the Colts beat the Texans by a score of 31-20 with Gardner Minshew, who was coming in for the injured Anthony Richardson with 19 completions, 23 attempts, 171 yards, 7.4 average, one touchdown. And Anthony Richardson, since he did play that game, 6 completions for 10 attempts and 56 yards and 5.6 average. For Russian Zach Moss, since Jonathan Taylor wasn't in that game, we'll talk more about him later. 18 carries, 88 yards, 4.9 average, and one touchdown. Anthony Richardson, before he got injured in that game, 3 carries, 35 yards, 11.7 average, and two touchdowns. Michael Pittman Jr. was the top receiver in that game for the Colts with 8 receptions, 56 yards, 7.0 average. And Kylan Grayson got the touchdown with 3 receptions, 16 yards, and 5.3 average with one touchdown. And flipping it over to Houston in that game, CJ Stroud, he went 30 completions for 47 attempts, 384 yards, 8.2 average, two touchdowns, but was unfortunately sacked 6 times. Houston's rushing leader for that game was Dameon Pierce with 15 carries, 31 yards, 2.1 average, and no touchdowns. Devin Singletary with 4 carries, 14 yards, and 3.5 average. Nico Collins, 7 receptions, 146 yards, 20.9 average, and one touchdown. Tank Dell with 7 receptions, 72 yards, 10.3 average, one touchdown. And that was the game that, again, Indianapolis won that game 31-20. A lot has improved since then on both teams. If the Colts win tonight, it will be the first time that they have swept both Houston and Tennessee in one season. Now, you know what? Let's start off talking about the Colts. They are coming off a win last week against the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland. Mike Rifkin, that one's for you. Gardner Minshew went 15 completions out of 23 attempts, 224 yards, 9.7 average, one touchdown, was sacked once, 89.7 QBR. Jonathan Taylor went 21 carries, 96 yards, 4.6 average, one touchdown. Alex Pierce led receiving with 1 reception, 58 yards, 58.0 average, and one touchdown. I'm going to say this before I get into X factors. I think Shane Steichen, I think that's how you say his name. I've been butchering his name and I feel really bad. So if you're watching, I am so sorry. Please don't hurt me. Shane Steichen is probably the most underrated coach in the NFL right now. This is a man who came to Indianapolis hoping to mold Anthony Richardson, a young quarterback, like he did with Justin Herbert in Los Angeles, like he did with Jalen Hurts in Philly, hoping to mold him, but Richardson gets hurt and he gets this veteran journeyman quarterback in Gardner Minshew. And Minshew has just had a fantastic year so far right now. And I give credit to Shane Steichen, who has really just been taking what he's got and flying with it. So the X factors on offense, I actually just mentioned one of them, is going to be Gardner Minshew. He has already won a career best 7 games this year. And this is going to be a pass heavy game. The Texans passing defense has allowed 240 yards per game. He needs to not panic. And the reason why that is so important is because this is going to be a pass heavy game because of the Texans' rush defense, which we will talk about in a minute. So I think Minshew has really just got to look for receivers, and I think he's going to be just fine. Flipping it to the defense, it's going to be the pass rush. They have 49 sacks this year. They are tied for 7th in QB hits. If there's one player they need to block, it's going to be Nico Collins. With no Tank Dell, he's going to be Stroud's favorite target. And the defense for the Colts has got to say, nope, you ain't getting no balls today. You ain't getting no touchdowns. So they got to cover Nico Collins because Tank Dell is not playing. Now, flipping this to the Houston Texans. They won last week against the Tennessee Titans, 26-3. CJ Stroud threw 24 completions out of 32 attempts, 213 yards, 6.7 average, 1 touchdown, was sacked once, and 50.2 QBR with 102.7 RTG. And also, you had Devin Singletary, 16 carries for 80 yards, 5.0 average with no touchdowns. Nico Collins for 7 receptions, 80 yards, 11.4 average, no touchdowns. Brevin Jordan with 2 receptions, 19 yards, 9.5 average, and 1 touchdown. Houston, as I have been talking about Shane Steichen, I think either him or D'Amico Ryans are going to be contenders for Coach of the Year this year. Like, this was in a division which is kind of overall kind of meh, but they really stepped up and turned this division into just a real fight between Houston, Indy, and Jacksonville. We are sorry to the Tennessee Titans. We are really sorry. I used to do stuff for the Titans, so I feel you guys, bro. I really do feel you guys. CJ Stroud. Do I need to say any more? He is going to be Rookie of the Year. I am calling that right now. He is going to be Rookie of the Year. His regular season stats so far are 3,844 yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And I think he is going to be the X factor for the Texans today. I think he's just going to he's got to throw that, and he should be good. He's going to do great today. He's going to be the rookie of the year. I am calling that right now, January 6th, 2024 at 6:04 p.m. I am calling that. And another factor on offense that I think needs to be looked out for is the offensive line. Last week, they only allowed 1 sack and 12 QB hits. So they know how to protect CJ Stroud. Now, flipping it over to defense, big factor is going to be Will Anderson. He currently has 7 sacks on the season and could be a franchise record. And also, the run defense has to hold Jonathan Taylor. They allowed 88.5 yards and 3.3 yards per carry this season. And they are currently tied with the 49ers for the best rush defense in the NFL. And they got to hold Jonathan Taylor, who did not play in week 2 because of injury. So they really just got to hold him. Last year, the Texans' rush defense was 32nd. And now they're tied for 3rd with the 49ers. So let's see what that rush defense can do. This is a playoff implicated matchup. Winner gets in, loser goes home. With the Texans, they can win the AFC South with a win and a Jaguars loss or tie. They can get in the playoff with just a win or a tie, but then the Jaguars got to lose and the Steelers got to lose and tie. The Colts can win the AFC South with a win and a Jaguars loss or tie, or a tie and a Jaguars loss, and they can clinch the playoff berth with either a win, a tie, or a Steelers loss or tie. The Steelers are playing at this very moment, and they are currently tied with the Ravens 7-7. So we're going to see how that comes. But anyway, win or get in. And my prediction for this game, it is going to be the Houston Texans 24 and the Indianapolis Colts 20. I think the Texans are going to be going to the playoffs. You got a star in CJ Stroud. You got a great defense. You got a great coach in D'Amico Ryans. I think either him or Shane Steichen is going to be potential coach of the year. I think Stroud's going to be rookie of the year. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this little live thing I did for you folks. I had a lot of fun. If you want to see more, go to www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Check out our blogs. Check out our history. Check out our bios. And don't forget to check out our podcasts available on all platforms. And don't forget to check out us out on X at Sports Insanity Real. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook. And check us out here on YouTube, where all our blogs, our Thursday Night Gridiron, our Sunday Sideline Report, and everything else. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Thank you, everyone. I'm Bill Murphy from the Sports Insanity Network. This has been a special edition of Murphy's View. So stay safe and take care.